In my entire life, I haven't finished a single self-help book. Not even one. I got some of them as a present because I'm a girl with issues, but I just couldn't finish them. And they didn't help. Surprisingly or not, I don't know. But for people like me, I think there is another solution. I, for example, like fictional literature, and it can also work as self-help literature, and this is what I will try to prove during this video. Moin, my name is Anna of Northern Germany, and I am a fighter, I am a writer, I'm an asylum seeker in Germany, I am an anti-war activist, and I support human rights, and yeah, this is me. On this channel I like speaking about mental health because my mental health is quite poor, unfortunately, and also sometimes I talk about Russia, about books, and my other hobbies, and this is, I can even call it the series because it's already the second episode, Depression in Literature, Fictional Literature. The first episode was about Sylvia Plath, the bell jar, and there I was mostly speculating about the way how she was treated, how people saw her, and the book that I'm going to talk about today is a modern book, so of course there wouldn't be any trash or crazy treatment, because yeah, the book was written I think in 2010s, maybe. I am actually not sure when exactly, but yeah, in 2010s, maybe in 2020s. And this book is by my favorite author, Matt Haig. If I was asked who is my favorite author, I would say that I cannot name one person. There are amazing, awesome, unbelievable authors who write, like classical authors, modern classical authors, and just modern authors. But I think there would be science that probably I'm lying. And today's candle is for mental health, because mental health is one of the most important things in the world, because any type of health, including mental health, if you don't have it, if you struggle with it, it's very hard to get by and be happy. So yeah, some mental health candle. Yeah, first of all, I will start with a quick update because yeah, I look productive, maybe look healthy possibly, but I had a hard week, and I spent quite a lot of time in bed, and my previous video about the 9th of May, the Second World War, you can also watch it. It was very hard to make it because I spent quite some time like this and sighing, but yeah, I have depression, but also I have anxiety, and that's why I cannot stop moving. That's the problem. So yeah, I also want to emphasize that it's okay to relapse sometimes and feel worse, but yeah, the main thing is to overcome it, to remember that depression doesn't last forever. And I thought that it was the high time to talk about my favorite author and my favorite book, The Midnight Library, that actually accidentally saved my life. I have an article, a very old article. I think I was just learning how to write, so I'm not super proud of my first articles, and I'm still learning because yeah, English is not my native language. And but yeah, there's an article how Matt Haig accidentally saved my life. And yeah, this is a letter to Matt Haig. Yeah, so around a year ago, I was already in Germany for some time, and I couldn't come back home possibly because, yeah, unfortunately, Russians, anti-war, pro-LGBTQ, etc., 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 people and activists, well, we get support, but not as much support. And some people would say, like, yeah, why would you get support? You started the war, but yeah, we don't want the war. And you can also see it in one of my reels and one of my shorts. And yeah, so I was in a very bad state, and I was in very deep depression. I hadn't felt well for quite a while. I didn't even remember from that moment when I actually felt okay. And my family, I had to cut the contacts, and every day the situation in Russia was becoming worse. Like basically every now and then they made a group of people who are not welcome there wider and wider and wider. I think then they ended up with everyone who belongs to an extremist movement, LGBTQ. Hi to everyone. We are extremists who belong to, who support, who are like, yeah, I think LGBTQ community is about freedom, you know. So yeah, basically everyone who supports freedom are not welcome in Russia anymore. But yeah, so it was getting worse, and the paperwork was very complicated, and I had no idea where it was going, and there are many issues when you claim asylum or when you are preparing to claim asylum. Yeah, maybe I will talk about it one day. Now I just don't feel strong enough to do that. And yeah, so at some point I made a decision that probably I shouldn't exist, because yeah, I was tired, I was mentally ill, the situation was very, very tough, like paper-wise, document-wise, and I felt as if I was a big problem for my friends, who are my family, who support me still. And at that point, I decided that, yeah, the end is the end. And I won't give details, but yeah, I felt very, very, yeah, it was a disaster in my soul, in my head. I felt pain, like, which was not physical, but physical at the same time. I felt it, and I just wanted it to stop. And closer to the end of April, I found this book, The Midnight Library. And yeah, talking about Matt Haig, he went through depression himself. He's also autistic, as far as I know, according to his Instagram, what he's saying. And I have this magical thinking. That's probably why it was one of the reasons why these rational, reasonable books don't work for me, so help books. But fiction works for me, and I always think that some book or something finds me, and this book found me, and I thought that I had to read it. And yeah, I will talk about it later in a second. But yeah, so that was my first book. Then I read The Humans and all the other stuff, and I immediately felt that Matt Haig and I are kindred spirits. Yeah, you know, I can imagine anything. Possibly, if we met each other, suddenly we would be able to talk to each other. But yeah, I really felt like we're kindred spirits, and I think his books helped a lot when I was like at my worst. And even when I was reading the book, which is not presented here, I gave it to my friend as a present, Reasons to Stay Alive, there was a moment when he was comparing himself to a cherry tree. Yeah, I have a photo of a cherry tree in France where I was a volunteer, the place that I had to leave because it was not healthy there. And I took this Polaroid and I wrote, I wish I could be this cherry tree because it felt like it was so liberated and so free, and it has no pain, and it has, yeah, a lot that I didn't have. And it was beautiful, and everyone who was looking at it was feeling happy. And I felt like I just created problems for everyone. No tears are going to be in this video. And yeah, I was trying to find some reason to leave, and something that could alleviate my pain. I found that book. I think this is one of my fastest books in my adult life, because I think I spent like 1.5 days to finish it. And at the beginning I thought, like, I was crying at the beginning, and I thought, is it supposed to convince me not to end my life and myself? I don't know how YouTube treats these expressions, because yeah, it was very tense at the very beginning, but then yeah, it helped me to release certain issues, because you know, depression is a pile, it's a knot, it's a mess in your head, it's a squirrel on a spin, jumping thoughts, and a lot of problems, and self-doubt, self-hatred, as I had already mentioned before. And I saw this in one of the videos, it's in Russian, about a person who helps people, who works on a helpline for people who are about to do something very bad. And yeah, what she said, that depression is basically self-hatred directed to yourself. And yeah, so the plot. The book is about Nora Seed. She is around 35, so Nora Seed might appear to be very relatable to many categories of people. And she is losing it. She used to have a job in a musical shop. At the same time, she was a tutor, piano tutor, and she was fired. She basically lost both of her jobs, and she feels like she is not needed, and nobody loved her and loves her, and she's a failure, and basically she only creates problems around herself, for people around her. And it also reaches the critical point that her cat dies, the only creature that loved her and that she loved. And yeah, she again sees herself as a failure. The cat is dead because yeah, she thinks that this is her fault. The cat died because she didn't manage to care for it well, and it results in her taking actions. So she decides that the end is the end. And she takes a step, but instead of dying, she is hanging in between this life and death, and she finds herself in the Midnight Library. And the Midnight Library is immense. It has aisles and aisles of books that contain her life and her life decisions, because we take life paths, and every path we take deprives us from other options that we could have taken. And Nora gets an opportunity to maybe see how it would have been if she had done something. If she, for example, didn't quit swimming, because one of her regrets, and she is like, she's given an enormous book of regrets, and one of her regrets was that she quitted swimming, and there are plenty of regrets, and she obtained the chance to see how it could have been. And this is a very interesting concept. Maybe it is presented in other movies too, in other books. But I like how Matt Haig describes that, because he's obviously a talented author. And yeah, probably Nora has a chance to fix something in her life, or maybe she has a chance to find a life that she genuinely likes. In this case, her present life finishes, and she takes life of, and she takes another life that she liked the best, the actual life that would make her happy. I want to quickly explain why and how I use it as a self-help book, or why I suggest using it as a self-help book. Because, yeah, as I had already mentioned before, I'm no self-help book readers, but this one helped me a lot. And I think also Matt Haig's books are quite soothing in general. This one maybe postpone before you recover, before you feel better, because this one is very dramatic. And How to Stop Time, I haven't read yet, so I cannot say if it is like good mental health wise or not. My reasons why this helps me more. The reason number one, obvious, I am sure, or at least there are more chances that I will finish this book, because it has a plot. It can absorb you, because also when you have mental issues, as I had already mentioned in one of my previous videos about books, that it's not the first thing that you would do when you're mentally ill. You wouldn't necessarily start reading, because the thoughts are swirling in your head, stirring, and your mind is on fire, and the squirrel with burning tail is running around. And yeah, of course, it's hard to sit and read, but this one might absorb you, or any other book that might help you. The second reason is that a fictional book obviously has a character, and I tend to like characters that are closer to me, that I can relate to, that have certain characteristics that I have, possibly. And I don't know if it is true for you, but for me it's definitely true. It's easier for me when I have a character that I can relate to. And all the other reasons are coming out of that. So there is a character, you start feeling sorry for the character, and it might lead you to feeling sorry to yourself. And this is already a big step. When you feel a bit sorry for yourself, when you want to give some consolation, some comfort to yourself, it's already a step further. And the character undergoes a development, and you accompany the character throughout the development. And also the character draws certain conclusions. For example, Nora's conclusion is that the only way to see how it could have been is to leave. And you might agree with the conclusion, or maybe you might draw another conclusion. It's also fine. But yeah, you get attached to the character. You go through the way. And also, another reason that before taking steps that are fatal, you might see how it could have been, like the fatal steps. You can live through that, and it might also weigh a bit the situation, and you might think, okay, I need to I need to get help, I need to fight, I need to do something with that, because going through all this process is not exactly what I want to see, what I want to do. And possibly you might even think, I actually want to leave. Yeah, it might also happen. It depends how complicated, how, what's the word? I want to say schwierig. I don't want to use the German word. What is the word? Come on. Severe. Yeah, guys, exactly. Severe. It depends on how severe your depression is. I believe it's also useful to mention in what cases the Midnight Library might work as a self-help book. I would say in the cases of regret, when your depression is impacted by regret of any kind, I think the Midnight Library analyzes the regret pretty well and speculates about that. Also, self-hatred and feeling like a burden and intrusive thoughts such as I'm not loved, I'm not needed, I'm lonely, I'm useless, I haven't succeeded, I haven't done anything significant in this life. And also probably from a certain angle, toxic relationships with friends, or maybe with your loved ones, with your partner. And in general, if you have very disturbing thoughts about your life, I have hopes that the Midnight Library might help you, at least to alleviate your pain a bit. And I want to end the video with a disclaimer. The Midnight Library is great, and I do recommend to use it as a self-help book sometimes, but it might alleviate your pain, it might not. It just treats the symptoms, not the core problem. And the core problem needs a doctor. And don't be afraid to see a doctor, because the doctor will actually help you to step on this way of the recovery, step on this road of the recovery. And otherwise it might be dangerous, because mental health is not something steady. It's today it's like this, tomorrow is like that, and I still have my good and bad days, or even weeks, and even months sometimes, although I am stable plus or minus. So yeah, I wish you good mental health, and I wish you a nice sunny or rainy May day, whatever you prefer, and love and peace from Anna of Northern Germany. Tschüss. My brightest moment when I got on the treatment, it was already after the Midnight Library, was that I started to get into depressants, and I remember it was already warm and the birds were singing outside, and it was actually the first time when I heard the birds. Can you imagine that? I never heard the birds before, and I was lying in my bed and thinking, the birds are singing. How incredible is that?